Welcome back to the Home Centered Life podcast. We're excited you're here and we're excited to be here. It's been a little minute since we've recorded, and I'm excited to be sitting at this table with you. Yeah.
Likewise.
Likewise. Thank you. Okay. So today we're going to be talking about lessons that we learned from raising 71 meat chickens. 71-ish. Yeah. We'll
That
say
was the
ish
final. That
because
was the
that was our
final
final
count.
number, which is going to be part of what we share.
Yeah.
So for some of you, you're going to be like, whoa, that sounds crazy. And it kind of was. And so we want to share really specific things that we learned from this process of raising some of our own food, raising our own meat. Specifically, you guys know we have lots of layer chickens, but raising your own meat for your family is a whole nother layer, I feel like.
Yeah.
And we just finished this process. We're planning on doing it again, even though it was a lot of work. And I think part of why we want to film this though is because there are going to be people out there that we want to help you avoid some of the mistakes we made, and also just show other people that it's possible to do this because we have a chest freezer full of meat now downstairs that we raised, that we know exactly what went into those bodies, and we gave them the best life possible. So I think if someone had said to us even 5 years ago, like, yeah, you're going to raise your own chicken, I would have been like, that sounds crazy, but it is possible. And so I'm excited to share kind of what we learned.
Yeah.
We're going to get a little nitty gritty. We'll do some overview stuff, but then kind of get detailed, because if you are going to do this or, want to do this down the road, hopefully our mistakes will help you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think now is the best time to record this type of episode because we are in the middle of the journey. This is not the first time we've done it. It's actually the third time we've done it. But we're also not Joel Salatin. So I feel like we're in the middle, and which I think is a great time to hit record. It's like we are doing this, but we're not pros. So we're probably going to say some things people are going to be like, duh. But we're also going to say some things that the experts forget.
Yeah.
And I know they forget because they didn't tell me, and then I made those mistakes.
That's a good point.
So
I like that.
there's a lot of things that the people who've been doing it for a really long time forget.
Yeah, or they just assume
or they just assume
Yeah.
And this being our third batch,
Yeah.
there's a ton of stuff that I did. I'm like, nobody said anything about that. And maybe it's common sense, but I didn't grow up on a farm, so I don't know a lot of the common sense things. So hopefully by hitting record long before we're experts, we're not saying we're experts at all. But that's kind of the point. Is like, I think we'll have some perspectives that maybe the experts have forgotten because they've just been doing it for so long.
That's good. Yeah. That's good. I mean, yeah, because I think that's partly why I wanted to share that. If someone had said that to us years ago, it would have been just like, that's crazy. And that can be where you're at on the journey, and that's okay. But maybe there's a little inkling or a little desire inside of you that's like, I would love to grow my own food for my family. And maybe it's just starting with a garden. But then, it's that little baby steps, and down the road, you might end up raising your own meat too. Yeah. So, do you want to share? I think we should start with why we did this.
Yeah.
Just to kind of give some context, and then we can talk about kind of those more specific things of what we learned.
Yeah. We'll do, as a way of a kind of an intro, we'll talk about why we did it. And as an outro, we'll do kind of the overarching lessons. But then the meat and potatoes is the brooder stage, the tractor stage, and the butchering stage. So, but for this all to make sense, a little bit of why we did it. And to your point, 5 years ago, I don't even think I thought it was possible. It's, and again, somebody might be like, are you serious? But it's like, I grew up getting chicken from the grocery store. Chicken, as far as I know, comes from the grocery store. And if somebody's like, well, you could raise it yourself, I would have been like, I don't know. What are you saying?
Yeah.
It's like when we first learned about raw dog food, we're like, what are you talking about? You can feed your dogs not kibble? I don't understand. So it was so far outside of my schema that I wouldn't have known that it was possible. And then the one or two examples I had seen looked horrendous. So again, if somebody's like, I know it's possible, but it looks horrendous. Or we even get texts from dear friends And they're like, oh, did you chop their head off with an axe or did you wring their necks? I'm like, what? Neither. Oh my gosh, those
Yeah.
things sound terrible.
Yeah.
So there's all sorts of ways to come into this, but for us, a large part of, for me, why I want to live a homesteaded life and do homesteading type stuff, is it is real life opportunities to involve our kids. It's not manufactured activities. There's nothing
Mm-hmm.
wrong with going to the museum,
Yeah.
but ever since I was a kid, I never I never really understood that, like, let's invent things,
Mm.
that sort of activity culture. There's nothing wrong with those things, but it always seemed weird to have to like invent things for kids to do.
Mm.
And so part of why I love homesteading is because, and why we wanted to raise our own chickens, is because I want to involve our kids in it,
Mm.
and I want them to grow up not thinking chicken comes from the grocery store. I want
Yeah.
them thinking,
Yeah.
and our daughter now goes, meat chicks give us meat. She says that, meat chicks give us meat.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't totally understand, because
Yeah.
today she asked me, where are the meat chicks? I was like, well,
Yeah.
remember meat
Yeah.
chicks give us meat?
Yeah.
They're in the freezer.
Yeah.
And but she was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's probably one of my main
That's good. That's
motivations.
so good. I love that perspective, and it's so, I think, again, we're not shaming the like, hey, I want to do things with our kids, but
Mhm.
I think like, I don't even think I realized until you said that how much, I think there's been a lot of shame, feeling like, oh, I'm not doing enough with our kids, like we're not going enough
Mhm.
places. But then when you said that, I realized, and I think Joel Salatin also said this, your homestead, your home can become
Mhm.
your work, but it can also become your entertainment. Like we go
Yeah.
outside for fun things. We go
Mhm.
outside to explore and
Mm.
connect and dig in the garden, and like, when people are like, what did you do today? It can
Mhm.
sound like, well, we were like outside digging in the garden and taking care of our chickens. It can sound like nothing, but
Yeah.
it's also, there's so much
Yeah.
richness there.
Yeah.
So I really love that. And then just, I think, yeah, I get excited about thinking like both of our kids and any
Mhm.
future kids we have will like grow up with this skill, even if
Mhm.
they can't, when they turn 14, they maybe couldn't do it on their own. Maybe they totally can, but like they'll know into adulthood,
Mhm.
like, hey, like this is what good chicken tastes like. This is what
Mhm.
good real food is. They're
Mhm.
going to have that just wired into them.
Mhm.
And I hope, that will equip their bodies, but also
Mhm.
their palates and their just all the layers of
Yeah.
things, like
Yeah.
for down the road.
Yeah.
They'll want to question like the fast food industry. They'll be
Mhm.
like, wait, this isn't yummy. Like I know
Yeah.
what good food is. So
Yeah. Yeah.
definitely that. And I think a big part of it too is just for us knowing where our food comes from, but also like how it's raised. So we know like we gave
Mhm.
them the best life possible that they
Mhm.
could have. And if you're listening to this and you're not a meat eater, like I totally understand. We were there. We were there for a while. We weren't eating meat, and we've come to the conclusion that we are eating meat. But we think about like a Cornish cross chicken, which is the typical meat chicken you buy at the store, is literally their whole life is to then the whole purpose of their life is to
Yeah.
to then end up in a freezer, in a
Mhm.
fridge.
Mhm.
And so like what are you going to do with their life?
Mhm.
And like the traditional like store-bought meat, they're not getting a
Mhm.
good life.
Mhm.
And so we think like, what can we do? And I remember we were at the Homestead Festival last summer in
Mhm.
Nashville, and they did a chicken processing demonstration.
Mhm.
And had we done? I think we had done one round right before that, or we were just about to start
I
actually.
think we are just about to
Yeah, so we
start.
hadn't
Yeah.
done it yet, and I
Mhm.
remember watching this man demonstrate how to like, you know, butcher a chicken, and I remember him saying just that, like their purpose, like I want to give them the best life possible. But then he also
Mhm.
said like, he said, I remember, I'll never forget, he said, go in peace.
Mhm.
And so like every bird that we've been given, I feel like we've given them that way.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
hopefully we did a good job
Yeah.
taking care of you. So
Yeah.
yeah, so that's
Yeah.
a little bit of our why.
Yeah, I love that. And I remember him saying that. And the first couple rounds from this experience, I didn't do that. I
Mm.
didn't say that. And
Mm.
I found in the last couple batches, I started saying that again, mostly for myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Totally.
Cause I don't know what it's like to grow up doing it. So maybe it's no big deal, but it's a big deal for me.
Yeah.
And it was emotionally taxing.
Yeah.
And so I started saying that again for myself, go in peace, because I wanted very much for them to live the fullest life possible and go in peace.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, so the experience has three main stages, and I was joking before we hit record. Each stage could be its own episode, but I think at this point the best thing that we could do is more of like overview,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe in a couple of years we'll do like a 3 episode series
Yeah.
where we really
Yeah.
unpack. But there's the brooder stage, the tractor stage, and the actual butchering stage. And if you've never done it before, or if you've done it, my hope in breaking up into these 3 stages and just tossing out lessons we learned in each stage, folks who have never done it before will be able to layer this into whatever they've
Mm.
been
Yeah.
hearing
Yeah.
and do an even better job than we did. People who've done it before. I mean, we had done it before. This is our third round, and I still um, wish I had known these things. So the brooder stage, that's just from the day they arrive, probably in the mail. We ordered 75. We counted 79, so they tossed in a few extra, which is pretty common, I'm told. And our brooder was not ready.
Mm.
And Cornish cross chicks are even more fragile than
Yeah.
heritage breed
Yeah.
laying hen chicks. And so they really need the brooder to be 100% set up. And this is one of those things that I did hear people tell me this before, and I thought, oh, 95 is probably fine. The thing is, whatever the missing piece is, it you might get it and install it and it won't work. And that's not okay
Mm-hmm.
when you're getting these chicks. So
You know,
I
this is funny that you're saying this because I
yeah,
already forgot about this part.
yeah,
Even though it was only
yeah,
like 8 weeks ago,
yeah.
I already
It's
forgot.
the other reason why I want to hit record right now is
So
like,
we
hey,
remembered for next
yeah,
time. So good.
yeah. So it was like 95% set up. Like it was pretty good,
Yeah.
but it's we have a big, we used to call it our prayer shed. It's become our brooder barn, but it's got electricity, but it's a really old building and it couldn't even handle the electricity of
Hmm.
2 heat lamps.
Yeah.
And for 79, we really probably needed 3 heat lamps.
That's yeah.
Combine that with a cold front that I obviously we can't control,
Yeah.
but we like got hit with an exceptionally cold weather the day they arrived, and that thing just never got warm enough. So I was running like extension cords from the garage, extension cords
Yeah.
from the house, just to like try to heat that
Yeah.
space up. And part of it was I didn't have all the pieces, and part of it was I hadn't tested all those pieces before they
Mm.
arrived,
Mm-hmm.
and so I kept flipping circuits and
Yeah.
blew a fuse in the garage. The garage is like 100 years old, so I couldn't even figure out how to flip that.
Yeah. Yeah. If
It
we
was a
blew a fuse
nightmare.
in the garage, I will repeat that, and we
Yeah,
couldn't open our garage door.
yeah, we couldn't open our garage door,
Yeah.
right? So there was a bunch of stuff like that. And ultimately, part of it is some chicks died because of that, and that's devastating. But part of it is these things that we're doing, they can pretty quickly become not fun
Hmm.
or exhausting or stressful when they don't really have to be.
Yeah.
Um, Not all of it, but some of it is avoidable. Yeah. So um, having the brooder barn 100% set up,
Yeah.
and I would say with sufficient equipment for twice as many chicks as you're actually going to get.
Hmm. Yeah.
This is the other thing that kind of annoyed me, but it's really common. People will say like, oh, this heater is good for 100 chicks. No, it's not. They are going to clump underneath that heater, and the ones in the middle are going to suffocate.
Mm.
So if you're getting 75, they're going to toss in a few extras, so 79. Get a setup ready that can accommodate 150 chicks. So how many feeders, how many
Yeah.
waterers, how many heaters, how much square footage. I wish I would have set up the brooder 100% designed for twice as many chicks as we were
Mm-hmm.
getting.
Yeah.
And I that one I feel like if I had paused and thought about it, I would have like, oh yeah, I would have known better. But once things are in motion, it is really difficult to like pause and think.
Yeah.
And so nothing against the like specific things we bought, but I just didn't have them ready, and I wasn't thinking through like, okay, this heater is like pretty close to maxed out with the number of chicks we have. I should just get two of them,
Yeah.
and then it's no
Yeah.
stress.
Okay, I'm going to pause you there and back up because I feel like there are going to be some people that are listening to this and haven't done it at all. So I'm going to say,
Sure.
so the reason that the hatcheries do with meat chicks specifically, the reason that they do send a few extra in the mail, if especially if you get a larger quantity,
Yep.
is because um, they say you will lose about 5% of the
Mm-hmm.
chicks
Mm-hmm.
because they are so much less resilient than even just layer chicks. So
Mm-hmm.
to start with that, like that's one thing that we learned. You
Mm-hmm.
will again, especially if you're getting a slightly larger number, you will probably lose a few. And
Yeah.
just to kind of have that in your mind, like in general, like you're not doing anything wrong. I mean, there are mistakes we for sure made, but
Mm-hmm.
there are also like chicks that just, I mean, we had one that was like 6 weeks, 7 weeks old and didn't, just didn't wake up the one day. And
Yeah.
like at that point, all the, they were very healthy, so just factor that in
Mm-hmm.
to kind of understand like this is a part of what that breed is.
Mm-hmm.
They've been, they're not a GMO breed, but they've been, bred to have a very short lifespan. They are only like they're ready from like day old chicks to like processing in 8 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of crazy when you think about it. So,
Mm-hmm.
so again, just want to point that out, and then also the kind of reason that like especially with heaters are so important is because especially like when you're getting day old chicks, they need to be at a 95-degree temperature to
Mm-hmm.
stay alive.
Mm-hmm.
And so having that space created creates space for the chickens to stay warm but not pile on top of each other, which is what was happening. And so they, aren't thinking like, oh, I'm smushing someone.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, I need to stay warm. So again,
Yeah.
consider that, like have really good heat ready. um Also, a small like side tip that I think is helpful, when you have little chicks, when you have their water, and I'm sure this is in like YouTube videos. I think that's where we learned it. Put little rocks in the bottom of the water because they can actually like get in there and get stuck. So the little rocks in the bottom tray of the water keeps them from getting stuck.
Mm-hmm.
So just that's a little bonus tip for all of you out there.
And dunking their beaks in the water, like
Yeah,
as you take them out
that's
of
good.
the male. We learned that one.
That's good. Yeah.
We'd take them out and like dunk their beak in the water,
Yep.
and then set them under the
Yeah.
heater, like pretty much
Because
just as you go, so
I
that they
mean,
know like
yeah,
here's water,
here's the
here's
water.
heat.
Yep.
They'll figure out the food, but the here's water, the here's
That's
heat, because
yeah.
they've been through a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on the weather, they could be really cold.
Mm-hmm. And
They're
like
probably
ours
dehydrated.
were transported for, it was 48 hours this time
Mm-hmm.
that they'd
Yeah,
just been without water or
yeah,
food. And so getting them water first thing,
yeah,
we learned that because last time we did it, we
yeah,
lost one because we
yeah.
hadn't done that.
We
So
didn't.
every
Yeah.
single time,
Mm-hmm.
that's part of why we're sharing these things, is because you
Mm-hmm.
learn so much each time. And I think we'll share one of our overarching lessons later, but just this idea of like a lot of homesteading, and we were just talking about this yesterday. It's really hard, but like it's all about like learning through failure, learning through making mistakes, and you want to
Yeah.
avoid them as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
But like that's sort of part of the game. Not that
Mm-hmm.
it's it's just like part of it. Like you're gonna kill a few tomatoes, but you don't want to like you're gonna do
Mm-hmm.
everything you can next time to do a better job. So
And
yeah,
if that sounds like it sucks, the answer is yes, it
it is really.
does.
I mean,
It really
yeah,
sucks.
it is really hard, and I
Yeah.
think we're able to share this now. But like we had a few really hard days
Yeah.
because of these things that happened.
Yeah.
Where it's now that it's done, we have
Mm.
like more rose colored glasses. Okay, we're ready to do it again, but
Yeah.
um, there were a lot of moments that were
Mm.
really hard.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
recognizing that
Mm.
that's real.
Yeah.
So okay, so let's go to
Well, just last
yeah.
one is just ventilation.
Oh yeah, yeah. There
Keep
you
the
go.
ventilation.
That's
Yeah.
good.
So our building's not really set up for what we're using it for. So it has windows now. We got those installed, but they're kind of small, and so it would have
Yeah,
been
yeah, that's good.
better. These things kind of play into each other, but part of the reason you want like a heater or heaters that can handle twice as many chicks is because you want to be able to ventilate
Mm-hmm.
without them freezing.
Yeah.
And so I did have two windows and I did have one fan. If I for the next ones I
Yeah.
want to get a second fan, both pointed the same direction just to get like ventilation. Um, because I can't like leave the door wide open all night.
Yeah. Yeah.
Partially for
Partly
temperature and partially
yeah.
for predators. So
Seriously.
just getting as much ventilation going through there as possible. They can handle that if the heater is beefy enough, and as long as the fan's not blowing like right on them,
Mm-hmm.
which
Yeah.
it wouldn't be
It's
for
so
us.
super.
So just good ventilation, because otherwise
Yep.
they'll develop a respiratory.
Yep.
They'll like start
Which
sneezing.
happened to
Yeah,
us.
which is sort of cute, and because a chick sneezing is kind of cute,
Yeah.
except it's like terrifying. Like, oh my gosh, are they all going to die?
Yeah.
They were fine as soon as we got them out of there.
Yeah.
Um, Part of the reason though is because we left them in there too long.
Mm-hmm.
So that takes us to the tractor stage. So
The
just
tractor.
like
Yeah.
the tractor is, I don't know why it's called that, but it's the movable shelter that they're going to be in out on fresh grass.
Yes.
So I'll explain
That's
that in a
good.
second. But just like you want your brooder 100% ready before the chicks arrive, of course you want your tractor 100% ready before they're supposed to go out. So they're ready to go out at about 3 weeks. And I think just because I didn't map out my time properly, they ended up not going out until I think 4 weeks for
Mm-hmm.
us.
Yeah.
So that's problematic because because they're going so fast.
Yeah.
Every week
Right.
they only get to be 8 weeks old. So every week of their life is like a decade of our lives.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
imagine being trapped inside a decade longer than you should
Yeah.
be. So they really start like kicking things up inside the brooder barn and stinking it up because they're much bigger,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's really for their benefit to get them out.
Yeah.
So of course, maybe you've heard this before, maybe this is the 100th time and you're finally like, okay, do everything you possibly can to have the tractor ready
Mm-hmm.
before they go out, because again, here's where it stops being fun and
Mm-hmm.
enjoyable when
Yeah.
they're not. The whole goal is to give them the best life we possibly can.
Yeah.
And then I know they're in there when they should be out on grass because I haven't built them their shelter yet. So
Mm-hmm.
it stops being fun. It just starts being stressful.
Yeah.
And then you start rushing things.
Yeah.
And it's
And
no bueno.
it is hard, and as long as now, I mean, we're like more excited to do this again
Mm-hmm.
because again of all these things that we did.
And the tractor's already built.
Yeah, and that's right, exactly. And now it's all ready to go. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember we were listening to Homesteady like way before we even had
Way
like a
back.
homestead, and he always said, always have your shelters ready before
Yeah.
you get the animal.
Yeah.
Yep, you hear it,
What
and then it just goes in and out.
until you've done it,
I'll do that.
yeah, and made the mistake. I remember he said, which came first, the chicken or the egg? I don't care as long as the chicken coop is there.
Yeah, I love that.
And I remember thinking, oh, that's so good. That's so
Yeah.
smart. And I kid you not, I keep not doing that.
Yeah.
And so if you don't do that, no judgment. But it's
Yeah.
pressure to have. At that point we had already lost a few, so about 75.
Mhm.
It's pressure to have that many living creatures.
Yeah.
Clearly not they weren't suffering, but they're clearly not where they should be because of
Yeah.
something I didn't do,
Yeah.
and that
That's good.
is really stressful.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Yeah. So the tractor, the chicken tractor is really so that these animals can be outside safely
Mm-hmm.
because, any animal, any predator wants to eat these chickens. So
Everything
they
loves
everything
chicken,
loves chicken, especially these chickens because they're fat.
even our dogs.
And um so they are movable. So you did a really awesome job of designing this really cool tractor. We'll have to show, we'll have to link it. Michael designed this thing, but one thing you want to try and do is move them first thing in the morning because that's when they're most likely to have the energy to eat fresh grass. So move them first thing like onto fresh grass because when you think
Mm-hmm.
about it, they've they've just been laying in their poop all night. So get them onto fresh grass in the morning, and then as often as you could, you did try to move them another time later in the afternoon,
Mm-hmm.
which again they're on that fresh grass and they see the grass and then they eat fresh grass again.
Mm-hmm.
Um, these chickens do need a really high amount of protein and carbohydrates. So unlike layer chickens, they can't just survive on just grass, but
Right.
the grass really helps them to stay healthy and keep viruses down. And,
Mm-hmm.
it does do a lot of really awesome things. So
Mm-hmm.
try to move them twice a day if you can,
Mm-hmm.
at least once a day, and then know that they eat a lot.
Yeah.
they they eat a lot. So because like I love that you said like each week is like a decade. They're just getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so kind of know going into this like the normal amount of food you might feed a layer chicken. This is totally different.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing we did was we soaked their food, so that helps
Yeah.
fill them up a little
Mm-hmm.
bit. Um, what else did we do? I'm trying to think that just kind of knowing. Oh man, actually, here's a fun tip too. If you have missed like their second feeding and they haven't had food all day, if you reach in to grab their troughs, they might try to bite your hand. So wear a glove or something. And they're not trying to be like mean, but they're just like, oh, food.
Yeah.
It's your hand. So just know that
Yeah.
going into that.
Yeah. I did not enjoy if I because I have my business. Sometimes I wouldn't get out there to move them and feed them until later than I
Yeah,
think is actually ideal.
right.
And so if that happened, by the time I got out there, they were in just like frenzy mode.
Yeah,
And again, it's like if I had moved them at noon, it would have been peaceful and stress free.
yeah,
But I moved them at 4 and it was a nightmare.
yeah.
And 75 chickens all trying to eat your hand is stressful to me
Yeah,
at least.
totally.
And so there's a couple things like that where it's like, man, you could move them at noon and it'd be stress free, or at
Yeah,
4 and hate the whole thing.
yeah. Well, and I
So,
will say
and I know that because I
this
did it.
this is crazy because like to just share a little bit of the realness of this
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
timing. We had ordered them and planned this out like way in advance. We knew when we were getting them, but then all these things happened, including
mm-hmm.
I broke my foot, and so it made it impossible. I
Mm-hmm,
like literally could not physically move that thing
mm-hmm,
at all.
mm-hmm,
And so and then trying to like feed them with a boot on and a child in an ergo, I just couldn't. And so that was again one of those unforeseen
mm-hmm.
things. We I didn't think I was going to break my foot, but that happened. So like,
Yeah.
what do we got to do? Like we had to pivot, and it did put a lot of
Mm-hmm,
more pressure on you because of that. And so
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
hopefully this next time around,
Yeah.
well, both of my feet will be working normally.
Yeah.
And yeah, so
The last thing on this, um, you totally don't have to design your own tractor. That is just because, full disclosure, I built Justin Rhodes's Chickshaw from the blueprints last year.
mhm.
Really enjoyed that because it was like so step by step. I'm not particularly handy and I'm not a designer, but I really enjoyed that. So I had that kind of in my head. And then I've seen Joel Salatin's tractor. It's the ugliest thing I've ever seen. I was like, what if I did that idea, but Justin Rhodes Chickshaw style? And it was it was more just ripping off two people than it was designing it from scratch, with a few things tweaked to make it, I think, better. But whatever. The thing I was going to say though is, don't be afraid. They do eat a ton. Don't be afraid to get all their feed at the outset. Like,
Hmm.
you're going to get it anyway. And if you guesstimate about
Hmm.
4 chickens per bag of feed, of course, I'm assuming you're getting 50-pound bags from the feed store. With Cornish crafts, that's kind of baked into the process. You can't. They're not going to forage. You can't feed them food scraps,
Yeah.
at least not entirely.
Yeah.
Best thing you can do. Of course, you can make your own, but I would maybe save that for later down the road. But we went through about 1 bag of feed per 4 chickens, so you can sort of do the math. We ended up with about
Hmm.
20 bags because there's about 75 chickens all said and done.
Yeah.
So you could buy that all up front, and then it's a lot less stressful.
Hmm.
Again, because if they eat a lot, and if you like are out, you're like, oh my gosh, you got to run to,
Mm. Yeah.
maybe not the feed store you would normally go to. Maybe you got to go to the one that's closest. But again, it's that like unnecessary stress
Yeah.
that
That's a
makes
good
the whole
point.
thing less
Yeah.
enjoyable.
Yeah.
And it's not from a guilt or shame place. It's not like there's no judgment. I did this. That's why I'm
Yeah.
saying it. But it's more like, man, enough of these things stack together, and pretty soon the whole thing is not actually enjoyable.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
And going back to involving our kids, one of the quickest ways to turn kids off is to make it unnecessarily stressful
Yeah.
and make it not fun.
Yeah.
And then they'll grow up, and instead of being like, I know what good chicken tastes like, they're like, I hate that.
Yeah.
Dad was so
So
stressed all the
true.
time.
That's so true. Yeah. No, I
So,
like that perspective a
speaking
lot.
from experience,
Yeah.
if you can avoid those stress points.
Yeah. Cool. Let's keep this next section short because it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of the hardest to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
So this is just the processing stage. So this is like we're getting these chickens ready to go in our freezer.
Mm-hmm.
So the number one thing that we figured out is they need a full 24 hours to fast.
Yeah.
We heard 18 hours, and that still wasn't enough. So they need to not, they still need water. So, but you like
Mm-hmm.
the best thing you can do is choose, if you're going to break it up into several days of processing, pick out the ones that look biggest and healthiest and take those and separate them out and
Mm-hmm.
just give them some water. And they'll still munch on grass, but no more food because then it ends up staying in their bodies and coming out in
Yep.
all different sorts of ways.
Yeah.
Michael had that experience in several ways of,
Yep.
like their crops still have stuff in them and they're pooping. And
Yeah.
so we don't want to go like gross you guys out, but 24 hours off of their feed. Let's just keep it at that. We don't want to be more graphic here.
Message me if you want more
Yeah.
details.
Oh, cool.
Be the one time I'll respond to comments.
Yeah. Number two, and I'm saying this because this was again, Michael really did the hard stuff, and I'm super thankful. But having sharp knives and a knife sharpener,
Mm-hmm.
super super important
Mm-hmm.
because one, it makes the process simpler, but also it's much more
Yep.
peaceful for the animal
Mm-hmm.
to have just that sharp knife and to
Mm-hmm.
to kind of move on
Yeah.
from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Non-optional.
Yeah.
They do make knives with replaceable blades. I have not yet been able to find
Yeah.
one that I'm satisfied with.
Yeah.
So this time we bought even nicer knives than we bought last year,
Yeah.
and still it was a struggle to keep them
Yeah.
sharp enough to do
Right.
the work. So it's really frustrating. It's really extra exhausting, and then it is harder on the animal, on
Yeah.
the chicken. So
Um,
non-negotiable.
it's good. Number three, I'm gonna say this one too because this was what I learned
Mm-hmm.
more than anything is to ask for help. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so Michael runs a business. We have two kids, two little ones,
Mm-hmm.
and we had 71 meat chickens, and we were like, yeah, we can do this. Like, we'll wake up early before the kids get up,
Yeah.
which they're getting up at like 6 a.m. We'll do this like before they wake up, and then we'll just like figure out how to do it. And like we did that one day, and it didn't work.
Mhm.
And it was so stressful.
Mhm.
Again, coming back to like, oh shoot, like this could have been a more peaceful process. But I don't even know. I keep coming back to like, why did we think we could do this on our own? I think like there's again this whole, I mean, we need to do like a whole nother episode on this, but like this, like, oh, we got this. Like we can do this on our own.
Mhm.
This whole mentality in the world today that's like, oh, I'm fine. But like, no, we come back to like, where, what, like, how was this country started? Like, people were living in communities together and
Mhm.
working together, and it's like, okay,
Mhm.
we're doing a butchering day, and there's like teams of
Mhm.
people working
Mhm.
together, and even our like my family did a lot of this growing up before I was born. Like when my mom was a little kid, and she'd
Mhm.
be like, oh yeah, like grandma and grandpa did this, and then these people did this, and everyone had their role. And so asking for help is so huge. So whether it's, getting grandma to come over and watch the kids, which is what we ended up doing,
Mhm.
or finding other people in your community that would be interested in learning
Mhm.
how, and each break up the job. So
Yeah.
kind of excited to do this again next time, because I think we'll have more help
Mhm.
the next time around. And yeah.
Yeah. Along with getting help, processing, if you can, processing them in small batches is really wise, especially if you're
Yeah.
starting out.
Yeah, totally.
Even though the pros can do, a chicken every 30 seconds or a minute, it still takes me 4 or 5 minutes. And so if I do, unless you have a whole team of people, each doing like one small piece, and you're doing like a,
Assembly
what's
line.
assembly
Yeah.
line, a disassembly line. Unless you're
Oh.
doing that, which is totally fine. I mean, that's awesome. But if you're doing it small, and you're kind of doing the whole thing yourself, or a couple of you, especially if you're new, it's going to take you a long time
Mhm.
from the time they go to the kill cone to the time they're in the freezer. And so if you try to do 50 at once, and you're doing all the
Yeah.
cone and then all the scalding and then all the defeathering, by the
Mhm.
time you put that last one in the freezer, it's been dead for a really
Yeah.
long time.
Yeah.
And so if you just do like 6
Yeah.
at a time
Yeah.
all the way through, and if you've got more time, maybe a couple more, but thinking more in terms of like small batches, because you're
Yeah.
probably not going to be very fast at it, and
Mhm.
you don't want a long time between um, when they are killed to when they're in the freezer.
Mhm.
Speaking of which, you do have to do that whole process without a break.
Mhm.
Another reason to do small batches. You don't want to
Yeah.
do a million of them, because it's a start to finish in one sitting kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not an advocate of powering through when it's unnecessary or unhelpful, but there are certain things where you can't take a break in the middle,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I did that, and I
Yeah.
ruined those
Yeah.
chickens.
Yeah.
They can't, you can't get halfway through the process and then just like go take a work call and then come back,
Yeah.
because they'll go rotten or
Yeah.
rancid, especially if their insides are still in them. So
Yeah.
there's some things like that where it's like,
It's
do
good.
do small batches, take it easy, get help, because you do need to do start to finish in one sitting. You can't
Mhm.
take a break and walk away.
I think my favorite thing was just that, like, you just did this. I just love that. For those of you watching on the video, did you guys like that little move Michael did? Because that was awesome.
Sha-ta-ta. A little cha-cha-cha, a little cha-cha-cha.
Okay.
Last thing inside of the butchering
Yeah.
process, consider a maggot bucket.
And this is where it gets nasty. So
We're not going to go into depth. Just Google how
look it
to
up.
make a maggot bucket.
Yep.
But you're processing meat chickens, you got to do something with those insides. If you put them in your trash will become a maggot bucket. Better to put them in a 5-gallon bucket specifically intended for
Mm-hmm.
that purpose. And then if you have layer hens, as the
Yeah.
maggots hatch, sounds gross, but they'll crawl through the holes and the layers will just eat them all.
Yes. Free protein.
Free protein for your layers.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That's
but
good.
you can't just put it in the trash and wait till next Wednesday for the
Mm-hmm.
people to come pick it up.
Which we might have done
It's
the first time
possible
around.
that
So
our garbage can is now our maggot bucket, and it's just sitting out there
it might have happened.
crawling
So
with
yeah.
things.
Yeah.
Hypothetically, that could have happened.
All right. So pivoting out of the nastiness, just quick overall lessons, and we're going to wrap it up. So I kind of alluded to this, but part of, I think, what we're realizing through homesteading is part of the learning process is learning through failing, learning
Boo.
through making mistakes. And it's
Boo.
so hard. It's so hard, but it's also like when you just say it and kind of name it, you realize, oh my gosh, there's no possible way I'm going to do this perfect. Yes, we can minimize the
Yeah.
number of mistakes, but there are going to be things that happen, whether it's, again, growing your tomatoes in the garden and someone steps on one, or it's
Or your
like,
dog tramples your
yeah.
onions.
Oh, yeah. Too soon. That was
Oh,
this morning.
sorry.
So, no.
Sorry.
So I think, again, we're in a better place now because it's been a few days and we have those meat chickens in our freezer, but there were some really hard days, like,
Yeah.
and so, but just knowing, like, okay, this is normal. Like, the mistakes I'm making, again, we want to avoid them as much as possible, but also there's going to be things that'll come up and that are going to happen.
Yep.
Okay, number 2.
Yeah. Don't try to do too much all on your own or all at once, especially because the learning by failure is baked in. And I don't say that to make it, the goal is not to have it sound like suck it up. It's just part of the process. Um, but there is also like, there's no hack for like, oh, there's a way to homestead without learning by failure.
Mm-hmm.
It sucks. I don't know that it will ever be fun. Maybe I'll get to the point where it's fun, but it is a part of the process. What will happen though, or at least what has happened for me, is when I'm trying to do it alone or I'm just trying to do too much, period. And
Mm-hmm.
then the learning by failure happens. You put those things in a blender and you have an explosion. And that's, again, that's like where it stops being fun. And it stops being something you want to involve your kids in because you just want to punch holes in things or throw things. Have a adult temper tantrum? Anybody? Just me? Okay, fine. So it's like a combination of like gunpowder and a spark
Hmm.
when you're trying to do too much
Yeah,
or
that's
doing
a
it
good point.
alone, and then the learning by failure makes its debut or its appearance
Mm-hmm.
again, its reappearance. It doesn't go well,
Mm-hmm.
generally speaking. And I
Yeah.
am not made of stone. Um, if anything, I'm a little bit more on the highly sensitive side, and so this, a lot of the parts of this process were hard, overwhelming, and I was doing too much, and I was doing it mostly alone, parts of it alone. Um, and then when I failed, it was like just meltdown central.
Yeah,
And
that's
so,
hard.
um, especially because I was joking with somebody, we did 3 times as many meat chickens as we've ever done, and we now have twice as many kids as we had last time we did it. So it all just felt like a lot.
Yeah.
So those are choices we've made, no regrets. But because of those choices, I might need to make different choices about how many do I
Mm-hmm.
do at once.
Yeah.
Maybe just 6
Yeah.
instead of 15
Right. Yeah.
at once. So,
Yeah. It's good. Yeah. And then number 3, again, coming back to like, what's your why? Like, what
mm-hmm.
was our why? And I think it is worth it because now every time we
Mm-hmm.
pull out a chicken from our freezer,
Yep.
we know where it came from.
Mm-hmm.
We know, and actually, they do taste delicious. But it's so beautiful to be able to raise your own
Yeah.
food and then giving these animals their best life
Mm-hmm.
possible. And the cool thing too, we didn't mention this earlier, but we did end up, kind of part of the model we chose for this round was to try and sell a few. So we haven't sold a ton of them, but I get really excited when I think about, like, it's not only just feeding our family better, but there's local families now too that are eating better
Mm-hmm.
because of this. And so,
Mm-hmm.
come back to, like, whether it's raising meat chickens or having a dairy cow or whatever your goal is.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it always kind of comes back to what's your why and why are you doing
Mm-hmm.
this? And if you don't eat chicken, then don't do this. But if you have that desire, that
Yeah.
spark in you to raise better food for your family, then
Mm-hmm.
I'd say it's definitely worth it.
And even the ones that I ruined, our dogs are enjoying those.
Yeah, that's true.
We fed
Yeah,
them
it
to the dogs.
didn't go to waste. Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us today for our conversation surrounding what we learned from raising 70 plus meat chickens.
We hope you found it both helpful and encouraging. And if you liked this episode, we would love it if you'd subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's a great zero cost way to support this podcast.
You can also find us on Apple and Spotify and leave us up to a 5-star review. One of the beautiful things about the world we live in today is you can help us live a more home-centered life by liking and subscribing.
We look forward to connecting with you again soon. Thank you so much for joining us as we seek to live a more home-centered life.